What is up, my epic Jamesers? Today we're gonna be doing a tier list of all the Muse characters from Love Live. One day there may be an edited version of this video where I sing the intro song to the anime. However, I wasn't really able to find out whether the company that owns Love Live is a bit copyright strike heavy, so I didn't really want to necessarily get into that. Um, so first of all, I'll say I just wanted to get this tier list out of the way before I start watching Love Live Sunshine. I initially thought, and judge me all you want, I initially thought that Love Live would probably be like completely shit, not very good. I had heard that there was real life idol groups, obviously. Um, so I just assumed the anime would kind of just be a bit of slop. Just be kind of like a waste of time to watch. However, my friend, big up Alan, Ravioli, very much into Love Live. I think he'll finish just watching Sunshine's finale show. Um, Big ups him. I hope you recover well from how many strong zeros I've seen you drinking. But yeah, he eventually convinced me to watch the show, and in retrospect, it was not slop. It was very good, filled with positive messaging. Um, I don't really have anything bad to say about the show overall, I would say. I think from start to finish, it's quite high quality. It deals with like complex stuff. Um, so it's not just slop, I just wanted to get out of the way. But today I'm going to be ranking the girls from Muse, uh, ninth through first. So I'm going to start with last place, and we're going to finish with first place. I will say none of the girls are below S plus tier. Are we able to delete these? Honestly. Um, as much as I am about to rank them, this is all of the characters I think are pretty strong and pretty good. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, but if I am going to rank them, there does have to be a ninth place. Is sort of the way to look at it, right? Um, Again, there's no disrespect. Um, it's a 24 episode anime movie with 9 main characters. It's kind of hard to get the exact right amount of screen time, of story, and all of that. So I understand it's probably a difficult task. Um, but anyway, with all of that said, I think we'll get into talking about the first girl on the bottom of my list. I hate to do this. The only other, well, that's not true. One of my other friends who's into Love Live, I think this is one of his favorites. I hate to say it. Hanaya was probably going to have to go into last place. Um, One more thing before I describe this. I'm unsure whether the concerts may further change my opinion. I have not watched any of the concerts after the movie. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah, um, I will say Hanayo does have one of my favorite moments in the show um, during Rin's episode, which we'll probably discuss in a while, um, where she's trying to convince Rin to be the center, and if Rin won't be the center, then Hanayo will be the center. And I thought it was quite a strong character trait shown that despite how much she's into idols and how much she loves it, and how that's pretty much her dream position, she likes the dress that leader is getting. She still tries to push Rin into that position, which I think is a pretty beautiful thing. Um, that being said, besides that, there's not much going, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty cool that she changes from somebody who's too nervous to join the group into somebody who is, a star. But at some point, she doesn't really see much like growth. She's just sort of there a lot of the time by the end of it. as a rice joke. And the issue is, in my opinion, having watched the anime, that there's actually a lot of funny bits that happen, and the funny bits don't involve rice, is probably how I would say I feel about her character. I think if they had more time, gave her more spotlight, maybe another episode or something, she probably could have been higher up. Again, she's only really down here because somebody has to be in last place, and I just thought she had the least growth out of anyone. Um, so yeah, honestly, that's kind of it for Hanayo. Sorry to my friend. Sorry, I think I have to burp 1 second. I'll mute my mic. Just also gonna double check I'm actually recording this. Um, yep. Okay. So number 8, this is surprising. Um, it's going to have to be Nico. Let's move her there. So prior to watching Love Live years ago, I think she's probably the first character I ever saw involved in Love Live with, her Nico Nico Ni thing. I think that went kind of viral, you know, Nico Nico kneecaps, all of that jazz. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Um, I'll say she's one of the funnier characters. I'd probably put her as, is she number one? She might be number one funny character. Um, the episode where she's running away, um, trying to not get found out, her episode that is, um, was very funny. I think the one thing that lets her down is that the whole point of her episode is to kind of try and transform her from this like vain sort of I'm the most important person into somebody who's not like that. Um, and the episode has a beautiful ending in that regard, in that she tells her siblings, actually, I'm gonna join Muse and we're gonna perform all together and all that, and then a couple episodes later, she's still just kind of as vain as she ever was. um, which is funny. Like, they're still funny bits, but at the same time, um, kind of made the episode a little bit more pointless in my mind. Um, she does have her strengths. Like, it's quite sad when you find out that she set up the idol club and then everybody left her and all that stuff. It's not that she's a terrible character. I think that her episode ending just kind of lets her down. I'm not sure if they just forgot, the writers just forgot what happens in that episode. Like, they just forgot that one maybe, but yeah. So she's going to be number 8. Number 7, again, sorry to my friend, it's gonna have to be Rin. I quite like Rin. I think I mentioned earlier, but Rin's episode is um, up there in my favorite episodes. Um, I think why she beats out Hanayo pretty much due to that episode, honestly, is that, I mean, she keeps continuing to wear the dresses and all that. Um, she also, after being made the center and sort of like kind of in charge while Umi Honoka and Katori were on holiday, she still, after that, like, will take, an active role in leading some of the training sessions, which I think was pretty cool. Initially, I will say her little voice kind of annoyed me, but it turned me around over time, and I think in the movie where she's wearing the little cat hoodie thing, I forget exactly what it was, but I thought that was also very cute. Overall, just a very cool, cute character. Again, I think it's just the issue when you have 9 characters and 24 episodes to work with. She sort of has nothing, nothing, convinces Tanaya to join, sure, nothing, 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 has a leader episode, and then nothing, nothing, nothing forever, pretty much. But yeah, I definitely think she had like another episode or something, and there was just more time in episode. She probably could have been higher, to be honest. Um, but with that, we'll go into number 6. Now, when I first saw all the Love Live characters, Katori I picked out as being the cutest in my opinion. I still kind of, do I stand by that? Hmm. I probably stand by that. I kind of like her hair a lot. Um, so the thing I like the most about Katori is that she is like secretly just a degen. A super big fan of Akihabara, which is probably also my favorite city in the world. Um, if there's any rich Japanese people that want to invite me out to Tokyo, um, I would happily spend another 2 weeks playing Mai Mai in Game Panic in Akihabara. But yeah, she's also a maid from a maid cafe, just pretty sick. Every degen thing I like, Katori seems to fit in there. Um, I will also say that I think the most important part of her character is that she does hold a an important role in that she designs the costumes and all that. But she's often kind of like looked off to the side, right? Which I think is like quite a commendable thing. It's like you're very important. Everybody kind of doesn't really look up to you despite that, but you're still happy with your position. You still realize, oh, this is my thing that I need to do, and it's just very inspirational, I guess, definitely to an extent. Her episode where she's gonna leave as well was pretty hype. I will say somehow every episode of Love Live, it'll end with like, the feel good moment. But every time I'm always like, oh no, what if it doesn't end good? And every time it did, I would always fall for it though. Especially that episode. So yeah, um, I think again with the previous discussions, if she had more time, more episodes, maybe she'd be a little bit stronger. But almost the middle of the pack. Not bad at all. Um, for fifth place, I think that'll be. Yeah, we're gonna go Mackie. If it wants to let me put her there. Probably the second cutest one, honestly. Um, she's also rich. She's a sugar mama bear, which is pretty cool. So, um, there's that. Um, I think the coolest part of her, there's lots of cool parts about her. Um, but the coolest part is obviously in the movie when despite them having had arranged to split up, she was still writing a new song for Muse. Um, I think that was a very emotional moment in the movie. And I'm glad that they build on that to the ending of the movie. It's pretty cool. I think the only criticism I have of Mackie is that she's just like there are sometimes it's just the sundry trope too much. She's just like it's not like I wanted to sing that or anything. It happens a couple times, and I'm just like, man, come on. But besides that, she's just a cool character. Stands up for her principles, despite being kind of shy. I think when they're discussing whether they're gonna disband or not, she sort of just stands up. Even though she's a first year is that as well. She's a first year. Yeah, she's a first year. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, standing up to like your seniors. That's it's overall impressive stuff. And yeah, just overall great character. No complaints from me. Again, if I'm ranking them all, somebody has to go somewhere, right? Like they can't all be number one. Um, number four is Nozomi. Um, Personally, I think Nozomi would be slightly higher, maybe in contention for first place, honestly. But they kind of gave her like the otaku pervert trope. Granted, they don't overuse it. I think sometimes it's fine, like when she gets Rin to fit between the car to chase after Nico because her chest is small. I think that was kind of funny. I think the things that they don't really annoy me personally. It's more of just a societal thing, right? When she's like just groping all the first years when they don't do their work. And after originally watching this show, I kind of thought it as a show I could watch with my 5-year-old sister. Right? It's some cutesy music show. I like it. I'm sure she'd enjoy it. But with that being on the show, I probably couldn't watch it with her. at least until she's significantly older, and then I'll be in my deathbed by then. But other than that, I think, just a very strong character, wanting to make a song with all her friends, after not having many when she was younger is very commendable. Um, and she's probably the main reason why I stuck with the show after the first 3 episodes. Messing around, reading the future with her cards and stuff like that, it just sort of kept me engaged. It was silly, but it wasn't over the top. It's not like every episode she was doing something stupid. Um, and I think she's just one of the most consistent characters in that, from the start, she tries to convince, like, sneakily tries to, convince Ellie to join. Um, and by the end of the show, she's just passing down nuggets of wisdom like every 5 minutes. Yeah, overall, I just think like a really good character, and um, it's just the one thing that lets her down, really. Um, she definitely is close to being my favorite. Um, anyway, with that done, we're up to our top three. Um, I think to my homies are gonna know who the top two are, so we'll just get right into it. Number three is Umi. Um, let's put it over here. Has the same name as a Yu-Gi-Oh card, so that I like, pretty sick. Um, other than that, I think it was the last episode. It might have been the second last episode or the last episode. I forget which one it was, but they do their like penultimate performance um, before the movie, and just before is it before the encore or is it before the show? I forget, but she says something along the lines of, oh, I've grown to start enjoying, performing in front of these like giant crowds, which is just massive character growth and a very like tear-jerking moment, at least for me. I don't know about everyone else. Um, when it goes from the early episodes where she's too embarrassed to like get in their dresses and stuff, and then you know she has that. Um, also when she goes like demon time, I think it's probably one of my favorite things in the show. They're very good with, I think, the humor in the show in that they'll have silly things, but they don't overuse it. Umi must go demon mode like maybe 3 or 4 times. I think if this is a slop anime like I thought it was originally, I think she would do it every episode, right? But it's hard to forget those moments. The pillow fight when they're on their was it summer trip? I forget. They were on a trip, and yeah, the pillow fight thing when she's trying to sleep, hilarious. Um, I think my only real slight criticism of her would have to be at the beginning of the movie, where I think the ending of the show, she's like confident performing in front of people, and then to immediately on their America trip be nervous, super ultra nervous, was a little cringe. Granted, I guess it's a different thing, so like, yeah, sure, like it makes sense that she's nervous. It's not like terrible by any means. Um, but yeah, just a great feels good moment when um they find Honoka after she gets lost in New York and Umi gives her a hug. Just reminds you of like the whole show when Umi's kind of harsh on Honoka, but deep down still wants her to succeed, wants her to do her best, wants to help her out, right? Just overall great character. Um, so now there are two. I will say, to be honest, excluding maybe Nozomi, who I would have to think about a little bit harder. If we were to exclude her one negative point, I would say these two were probably the top two for pretty much the whole show. Um, so we'll just get into it now. Ali is number two, which kind of tells you who number one is, but I'd like to give my reasoning. I'd also like to just 1 second mute my mic and blow my nose. Just start getting a little bit emotional over the Umi hugging scene again. There we go. Um, so I will say at the start of the show, I thought she was kind of written a little bit too over the top evil, um, trying to stop Muse from sort of forming and performing and all of that nonsense. But I think what's really cool about her, and sort of relatable, I think, for most people, but definitely for me, is that, you can take things seriously, take a lot of things seriously, and, she's taking wanting to keep the school open very seriously. And it's not from a bad place either. Like, she thinks the people doing the school idol stuff are making a mockery of that, and, it's like sort of a classic, traditional versus modern nonsense psychological thing that I don't think we need to dive into completely. But um, what's good is that I think she starts to overall see people's perspectives, um, you know, later into season one. Obviously, initially, even when she does join to try and help keep the school open, she tries to make it like a little bit difficult when she's teaching them how to dance and stuff. Um, Again, another one of my favorite scenes thinking about it, to be honest. When Hanukkah asked her to do that. But anyways, this is about Ellie, not about Hanukkah. Um, I think, one of my favorite parts also in regards to Ellie is, kind of just letting Hanukkah be the student council president and sort of being there to help her when she needs help, obviously, but it's sort of like it's kind of like the peak of like her character where it's like, she realizes that, I mean, one, she's not the only one that can lead and do things properly, and two, that other people that while she might think are making a mockery of something are doing things with their best intentions. And I think, yeah, she's just overall a great character, probably sees the most growth out of any of the characters, in my opinion. And just a tier one character. There's nothing bad to say about her, really. Um, which will put us into number one, Hanukkah. Um, Not number nine. Definitely not number nine. Um, So honestly, and I was thinking about this, like she might just be my overall favorite character of like every anime ever. Um, I think some animes try to be like too complex and, have 100 dimensions, which is not like a bad thing, but sometimes it's good to just tell a simple story without 100 plot twists. It's good when if a story makes sense, it's probably for a good reason, right? Um, I think literally the only one bad thing I have about her is the first episode of season two, where she's kind of down on wanting to compete again and try and, was it for the preliminaries? I think, yeah, try and qualify for them, or was it like a second round? I forget exactly what it was, but yeah, she doesn't want to. Obviously, they rectify that by the episode, so it's not too bad. But overall, just like a great character. Just a reminder to, you know, stay positive, try your hardest, never give up, no matter what situation you're in. I first started watching this show sort of as a thing. Um, I was practicing my hobby, and I would get really tilted. To be honest, in that time, a few months ago, I was kind of in like a bad mind frame where I was just get so mad. I was like, what's the point? I'm never gonna actually like do anything, right? Like, it doesn't matter how hard I try, it doesn't matter how many hours I put in, I'm just gonna keep showing up to big tournaments and losing. Um, and I just sort of picked up the show as something more or less to, when I would get tilted, I'd be like, oh, I'll watch an episode of this, right? And I'm not gonna say like like, oh, God, that changed my life, blah blah blah, but it definitely helped me when I was in that period. Now when I kind of get in that mind frame, I sort of like try and like picture like Hanukkah dealing with the situation, right? It's like, yeah, I can get sad, I can start crying about it or whatever, but at the end of the day, I have another opportunity. I can try my hardest again. Um, on top of just like overall like her helping my mindset, I guess, the funniest moments, um, she just does. It's always just I thought it was so peak when she gets on the wrong train after trying to catch up with everyone. Just so funny. No ego when in the early episode where they're trying to decide who the center is, uh, or the leader. Was it the center or leader they're trying to decide? I forget, but yeah, she has no ego about it, which is pretty commendable. Um, I think my favorite part of honestly, my favorite scene in the show is when uh, it's snowy or whatever. Honoka is like committed to performing her speech as a student council president despite not having to, but obviously she's going to try her hardest. And then all the trains get cancelled before they can compete in the Love Live on the same day. Of course they do. And, you know, they think about giving up, but she, gets them to go on. Then obviously the whole school's like, it's a bit ridiculous. They've moved all the snow on the whole path, miles and miles, like for a distance they wouldn't get a train for. So, bit ridiculous, but still cool. And they eventually make it all the way there, find the rest of the group, and she jumps on Ellie and just starts like crying her eyes out, just like pure raw emotion about how she was so sad she wasn't gonna get to perform. Um, I think that's when like yeah, it's quite late into the show, I guess, but like I think it's kind of silly how emotional the show will get you, but it's kind of based. Like it's the only way you can say it. It's just so based. Um, sort of just a representation of all the good things, I think. It's easy as you get older to be cynical and think you are where you are in life and not try as hard as you can. Just think it's pointless. But it just reminds you, Hanukkah, it's just like, just try your hardest, just try your hardest, At least you can say you tried your hardest, as sort of how I look at it, right? Um, but yeah, that's my tier list, 1 through 9. Uh, Again, I don't think any of the characters were bad. I will also say that I watched the show over sort of a long period of time. There were large gaps sometimes, um, so there may have been things I forgot. I haven't rewatched it. I've only watched it once, so if there's anything you have a super big problem with, my sincerest apologies. It's only an opinion. I know I'm a bit late to watching the show. People probably have their favorites, but this is just one man's opinion. Okay, tried my hardest, if you will. Um, but yeah, I think now it's quite late. I don't know if you can see my time in the recordings, but I'm probably gonna go watch an episode or two of Sunshine. Share this list with my friends and go to sleep and get ready for the grind and try my hardest there too. Um, Thanks for watching Epic Jamesers.